My daughter thought I wouldn't notice her slipping something strange into my purse. But the moment she turned her back, I quietly placed it inside her drawer. 30 minutes later, police sirens echoed outside. She had no idea what was about to unfold. Before we continue, if you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. The grill hissed and spit like it had an opinion about family. Smoke curled into the evening air, and the steaks were already a shade past medium, turning my patio into a clock that ticked in grease. "Mom," Jennifer said, palms out, chin tilted in that old negotiating angle. "It's simple. Spot me 2,000. I'll pay you back when I start Monday." "Start where?" I flipped a steak, watched the juices run. "You keep saying Monday like it's a real place." "With Tech Solutions," she said it fast, like throwing a dart. "They loved my interview. 65,000 to start. I sent you the letter." Michael hovered in the doorway, arms folded like a sash. "She did send it," he said. "You just didn't look." "I looked," I said. "It looked enthusiastic." Jennifer exhaled through her nose. "You always do this. Can't just be proud. It's not like I'm asking for $1,200 every month anymore. It's a bridge." The timer on the grill barked. I killed it and slid the steaks to the cool side. Another minute and the night would taste like charcoal. "Cut the bridge down to something you can cross," I said. "Dinner, then we talk." We went inside. Kitchen light, too bright, too honest, washed the counters in a scrubbed white glare. Michael set plates. Silverware chimed. Jennifer went quiet the way she always did before she moved a piece on a board I couldn't see. I caught the creak on the third stair. The house always told me truths. Jennifer had stepped into the hallway. My purse sat there, slumped against the hall table. I'd taken it to the church fundraiser earlier. Habit said drop it by the door. The hum in my chest sharpened. "Food's up," I called. "Too casual." "Coming," she said. "Too casual back." She returned, smiling. The smile didn't reach her eyes. The smile wanted to be seen trying. We ate. I chewed and kept my eyes on her hands. Her fingers were clean. No gardening dirt, no ink from forms, no cuticle chew marks she used to have when money was bad. Clean can mean careful. "Mom," she said between bites. "I need to know tonight." "Why tonight?" "The deposit window closes," Michael said swiftly. "First month, last month. You know how it is. We found a nicer apartment close to her new job." I sipped water to buy a second. Funny. Tech Solutions is across the river. This nicer place is the other direction. Michael's eyes flicked to Jennifer. A small mistake. Almost nothing. She felt it too. Her jaw went tight, then softened. I stood, collected plates I didn't need to collect. "I'll grab the sauce from the hall pantry," I said. The pantry door is 5 inches from my purse. The house kept telling me truths. I paused in the threshold, listening. The fridge motor clicked on. Michael's bracelet chimed against a glass. Jennifer's chair whispered against tile. I unzipped the purse a half-inch. Tissue paper, stiff, jewelry store thick, caught on the zipper teeth. My heart punched once, twice. I peeled the flap open. A diamond ring sat in a folded square of white. Big stone, clean lines, light catching at the edges like it couldn't help it. The kind of thing you don't find. You hide. I didn't move for a breath. Then I shut the zipper, slid the bag under my arm, and walked to the sink. "Forgot the steak knives," I lied. "At the drawer I keep for nonsense, rubber bands, box cutters, envelopes." I set the purse down and propped my phone against the bread box. Camera open. Recording. I opened the bag again where the lens could see. My hands, the white square, the ring. I lifted it with 2 fingers and held it in my palm. It was warm from the house or from my hand or from the trouble it carried. Michael stepped in. "What are you?" I held the ring up. This yours? Her mouth opened and closed. What is that? Jennifer came to the doorway. Her face did a flicker. Panic, then anger, then something like relief settling on top. Mom, what the hell? This was in my purse. My voice wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. Somebody put it there. Michael shook his head. We have no idea. It's not ours. Why would we? Jennifer said, quick, solid. The ring felt heavier. I set it in the drawer on a plain white envelope and pulled the drawer out the way you show a magician your sleeves. My camera saw the whole thing. I turned the lens to them. Don't move, I said. Don't touch anything. Are you serious right now? Jennifer spread her hands wider. You're filming us? I'm filming this. I slid the drawer closed with 2 fingers, keeping it visible. Because if you didn't put it there, someone did. And if it isn't yours, it's someone else's and they're missing it. Maybe you picked it up by mistake, Michael said. At the store. I don't go to jewelry stores, I said. And I don't keep tissue in my purse. A siren moaned somewhere far off. Michael flinched like a string got plucked inside him. Jennifer stood very still. I didn't call anyone, I said. Yet. It wasn't a threat. It felt like a promise to myself. She snorted. So what? You're going to turn your own daughter in. I met her eyes and kept my face steady. I'm going to make sure the truth gets to where it belongs. The siren cut. Blue washed across the curtains. Tires hissed to a stop. The house tightened. Michael whispered. You called the police. I didn't, I said. Jennifer's jaw shifted again. She pasted on the righteous stare. I did, she said loudly toward the window like it was a microphone. Because you're accusing us of theft in your house, Mom. I looked at her. Just looked. She looked back, then away. Knuckles tapped the doorframe. Evening, said a voice, calm and trained. A tall Latina officer took in the room like she'd been given a blueprint. Lieutenant Rodriguez. We got a call about a domestic dispute and a stolen item. No uniforms behind her, just one partner with a notepad and the kind of smile that says she's not smiling. Neighbors' porch lights blinked on across the street like a gallery waking up. It's not a dispute, I said. We were eating. Then I found something in my purse that doesn't belong to me. I gestured toward the drawer. I set it aside and started recording. It's right there. You can look at the video. Jennifer stepped forward, hands flying. She's confused. She's been under stress, since Dad. Since Robert, she's been off. I swallowed that like a rock. I'm clear. Lieutenant Rodriguez nodded once. All right, we'll keep it calm. She glanced at my phone. You recorded the discovery? Yes. May I see? Her tone made it not a challenge, but a path. I handed her the phone. She watched, steady, too steady, until the frame caught my fingers opening the zipper and lifting the folded white. She glanced at the drawer. Where is it now? In there, on an envelope. She nodded to her partner. The partner pulled on gloves with a soft smack and stepped to the drawer. No one touch, she said. She slid it open, the light catching the stone like a flare. She put it in a paper evidence bag as if it were poisonous. Michael's breath got thin. We don't know what that is. You called us. Lieutenant Rodriguez replied, eyes on Jennifer now. I said a stolen ring was being hidden and I was concerned. Jennifer allowed herself indignation. Because I found it in my bag, I said. My voice stayed low. It felt stronger that way. I'm not hiding anything, but I want my name and my house cleared. Lieutenant Rodriguez lifted a brow, taking the room in again. The bright kitchen, the grill smoke slipping through the screen, the careful way I stood between the drawer and my daughter. Any reason, she asked, someone would want to say the ring was yours? Yeah, I said. Money. Michael shot Jennifer a look. It was half a warning, half a plea. Rodriguez's partner sealed the bag. We'll need statements, she said. All of you. Happy to, I said. Jennifer raised her chin. I'm not comfortable. Then you can speak with me outside, Lieutenant Rodriguez said, easy as folding a napkin. We'll make time for everybody. She stepped toward the hallway, scanning as she went, eyes grazing the dropped purse, the narrow table, the exact 5 inches between zipper and doorframe. She crouched, touched the floor near a scuff with the back of her knuckle as if measuring the shape of trouble. Ma'am, the partner called from the drawer. We've got tissue fibers. Could be from the packaging. Rodriguez nodded. All right. She looked at me. You said you found it while retrieving steak knives. Anyone else have access to your bag between dropping it and dinner? Yes, I said. Whoever went to the hallway while I was at the grill. Jennifer scoffed. Now she's saying we planted it. I'm saying someone did, I said. The room felt smaller. The light felt louder. Across the street, Mrs. Chen stood on her porch in a pink robe, hands gripping the rail. 2 teens whispered near the curb, their bikes like punctuation. Rodriguez's radio crackled quietly. She adjusted the volume down without looking. Ms. Ford, she said gently, I'm going to ask you all to step into the living room. We'll separate the statements so no one feels pressured. We moved. The living room lamp threw a soft circle over the coffee table, a friendlier light that did nothing to calm my pulse. The third stair creaked again, memory replaying itself in my bones. Jennifer, Rodriguez said. With me out front. She nodded to the partner. Michael, the partner said. With me in the kitchen first. She indicated a chair and a clipboard. Jennifer brushed my shoulder as she passed. This is insane, she muttered, for me only. You're making this insane, I answered. I'm tired of crazy, she said. She squared up in the doorway, turned on a dime to face the room. If you think I need your money so bad I'd steal. I think you asked for 2,000 by dessert, I said. Rodriguez's head tipped the slightest degree at the number. Jennifer swallowed, then pushed out into the blue wash. The partner scribbled. Michael sat, a statue of good posture fraying at the edges. We just want to leave, he said. This is humiliating. I want that too, I said. I want to eat a steak and not worry about what's in my own house. Rodriguez's voice floated faint through the screen. Patient questions, Jennifer's quick answers, the cadence of a story being woven tighter than the thread can handle. A minute. 2. The grill ticked as it cooled. The house kept telling me truths. Then Rodriguez stepped back inside. Her face didn't show anything, which was the first sign it did. Jennifer, she said, voice even. Do you mind if I check your jacket pocket? The left one. Jennifer blinked. Why? Because when I spoke to you, you touched it twice, Rodriguez said gently. People touch what worries them. You said you were cold, but you only touched the left. That's ridiculous. It's voluntary, Rodriguez said. You can say no. Silence opened like a trapdoor. The teens on the curb leaned forward. Mrs. Chen's robe glowed. Jennifer laughed once, emptied of humor. Fine. She yanked the jacket off the chair and jammed her hand into the pocket to show bravado. Her hand came out with the white square of tissue I'd seen in my bag, creased differently, but the same paper, same weight, a twin shiver. She froze. Everyone else didn't. Rodriguez stepped in, efficient. Hands where I can see them. It wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. Jennifer's mouth opened. I grabbed a napkin. The kitchen was out, the partner said. We have a drawer full, I said, because I couldn't stop myself. The partner produced a second bag. The tissue went in. The night telescoped to a point. Jennifer Ford, Rodriguez said. I'm placing you in temporary custody while we sort this out. You're not under arrest at this moment, but you are being detained. Metal spoke to bone. The cuffs clicked like punctuation at the end of a long sentence. Outside, porch lights burned brighter. The teenagers stopped whispering. Mrs. Chen lifted a hand to her mouth. Michael stood so fast his chair scraped. "This is wrong," he said, voice splitting. Rodriguez nodded once. "Not unkind. We'll get to right," she said. "But we start here." Morning came thin and grey, a film over the windows. The house smelled like last night's smoke and a metal tang that only exists after handcuffs. I made coffee strong enough to stand up on its own and stared at the purse on the hall table like it might blink. The drawer in the kitchen sat open an inch, empty where the ring had been. The envelope still there like a chalk outline. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Local exchange. I let it ring twice, then thumbed it on. "This is Ford." A pleasant woman's voice. The kind that belongs to an office with plants. "Hi. Is this Jennifer Ford?" "No, her mother." "Could you let Jennifer know this is Human Resources calling from Tech Solutions? We're finalizing her start date." My chest did a small, slow turn. "Which office?" A pause. Just enough for the gears to show. "Downtown." "We'll call you back," I said, and saved the number. I tried it 5 minutes later. The call bounced with a bright, automated voice. "The number you have dialed is not in service." It even apologized. I set the phone down next to the coffee like maybe proximity would make it honest. The clock over the stove rolled from 8:59 to 9 o'clock with a hard click. Monday had a way of putting a hand on your shoulder. The doorbell rang. Not neighbors. Neighbors knock with their knuckles and gossip. The bell belonged to official shoes. Lieutenant Rodriguez stood on the step with the morning folded into her coat. "No partner today. Ms. Ford." "Lieutenant." I moved aside. The house let her in without making a noise. "We logged the ring, tissue, and your video," she said, stepping into the kitchen. "We'll need you to come down this afternoon for a supplemental statement." Jennifer was released last night pending review. Released. The word felt like a dropped pan. "Detained isn't arrested," she said. "We held long enough to secure the item and prevent interference. She has a right to counsel." She exercised her right to go home. To their home. "Unclear yet," Rodriguez said. She and Michael left separately. She glanced at the hall. "May I?" I nodded. She looked at the purse, at the scuff near the baseboard, at the drawer with its inch of confession. She didn't touch anything. She didn't have to. "We'll follow up with the jeweler community," she said. "Pieces like that don't live invisible." "HR called," I said. "For Jennifer. The number doesn't exist when I call back." Rodriguez's mouth did that almost smile that isn't happy. "Send it to me. We'll trace." I forwarded the contact. My finger hovered over another send. She told me 65,000 to start. Rodriguez didn't write it down. She let it sit between us like a hot cup we didn't want to drink. "Did you believe her?" "I wanted to," I said. The truth felt both too heavy and too light. She asked for 2,000 last night to bridge her to Monday. "Monday tends to be crowded with promises," Rodriguez said. She put a card on the table. "Supplemental at 2. Bring any documents that feel important." When she left, the neighborhood exhaled. Mrs. Chen's curtains hiccuped. The teens' bikes were gone. I chewed toast I didn't taste and fetched the offer letter from the pile of enthusiastic mail I'd pretended not to keep. Tech Solutions Group sat in a bold font like it wanted a handshake. Watermark faint, diagonal, a signature block with a friendly scroll and a title that sounded like a ladder. Head of Talent Acquisition. I held it up to the window. The watermark didn't cross the G in Tech Solutions. It paused like it had stage fright, then continued on the other side. Watermarks don't do that. Paper does that when a printer fakes them. My phone hummed again. Michael. I let it ring once, twice. Barbara Ford. His voice had no makeup on. Are you okay? I looked at the empty drawer. Define okay. I didn't sleep, he said. Jennifer either. She says you trapped her. I pressed record. I set an envelope in a drawer. The trap was the truth. Silence stretched thin. She wants to come by, he said finally. To apologize, to talk. You or her? Both, he said. Please. I looked at the clock. 11:07. The bank autodraft at midnight I hadn't worried about in years growled somewhere in my calendar. A dog on a chain. 2 o'clock, I'm at the station. If you come before, you come for the truth, not to move it. She didn't answer. Then we'll be there in 20. They were there in 15. The house told me truths, even about punctuality. They looked smaller. Michael's hair was pinned so tight it hurt me to see. Jennifer stood half a step behind him, eyes pretending to be steady. She took a breath. Mom, I'm... No script, I said. No performance. If you're here to tell me I forced the police to put metal on your wrists, you can leave. She swallowed. I panicked. Calling them. It got out of hand. Out of whose hand? She rubbed her chest. A little girl trying to ease a stitch. Can we sit? We sat in the living room where the lamp made a gold island. The third stair chose that moment to squeak on its own. The house had opinions. I was offered the job, she said. That part is real. HR called this morning. The number doesn't call back, I said. I'm sure it's part of the new honesty package. Michael's face tightened. We saw the number too, he said. We couldn't get through. I let the letter ride the air between us. And the watermark. Paper from the printer under your desk shouldn't do magic. Jennifer looked at the page and went still. She didn't ask to hold it. I didn't make that. Then who did? I asked. She shook her head once, hard. A friend helped. Said she knew someone in HR. Said she could push it through. Name. She stared at the rug pattern like the right answer might be hiding in the loops. I can't. You can, I said. You just don't want the cost. She flinched. Everything costs with you. Because everything does, I said, and we sat in that sentence like in a cold shower. Michael's hands were folded so perfectly they looked carved. We were going to pay you back, he said. With her first check. First and last for the apartment. An actual fresh start. Not. He bit off the rest. You mean not here? I said. Not with me. He shook his head quickly. No, I mean. The doorbell rang again. Not official this time. The ding-dong that announces gossip. I opened to Mr. Thompson from 2 doors down, holding a Tupperware like a shield. Brought you some casserole, he said cheerfully. Heard the sirens last night. Everything okay? Behind his shoulder, 3 other faces angled like satellites. I could feel the street texting in real time. We're fine, I said. Thanks for the... Jennifer appeared over my shoulder like an unwanted magic trick. Mr. Thompson's eyes widened, then narrowed with the speed of someone stacking old memories against new information. Ah, he said, a syllable filled with neighbors. Thank you, I repeated, and took the casserole and closed the door softer than I wanted to. The living room felt like a stage. You see, Jennifer hissed. You dragged the whole block into this. You called the police. The block dragged itself, I said. She stood, sat, stood again. I'll fix the offer. I'll get the right number. I'll bring proof. Then you'll see. The only thing I want to see, I said, is you telling the truth when it hurts. The clock coughed up 1:31. The house wanted me out the door by 1:40 if I was going to make 2. I have to go, I said. Supplemental statement. Michael rose too quick. We'll come with you. No, I said. You'll stay here and not touch anything. Like we're prisoners, Jennifer said. Like I'm not your victim, I answered, and the word tasted like metal all over again. At the precinct, the air conditioning flexed its muscles. The walls wore posters about safe neighborhoods and a bulletin board of dogs up for adoption. The pen at the intake desk had a plastic flower taped to it so no one would steal it. I wanted to laugh. Rodriguez took me into a small room that had seen too much talking and not enough listening. She set down a form and a recorder. Your video was clean, she said. Good framing. I do church flower arrangements for a living, I said. Angles matter. She almost smiled again. Then she slid a photocopy across the table. The offer letter, flattened into gray. We compared your Tech Solutions letter to a verified sample from an employee we called. The watermark spacing doesn't match. The logo kerning's off by a hair. The signature belongs to a recruiter who left last year. Also, a legitimate letter wouldn't ask for a routing number before onboarding. My breath hitched. Ask for a... She pulled out a second page, a printed voicemail transcription. Please confirm your bank info to secure your $65,000 salary. A wire holds your spot. The words looked like a scam that put on a suit. Did she give them anything? I asked. Account numbers, not yet, Rodriguez said. We pulled a text thread from Michael's phone with his consent. She said it carefully, eyes watching my face. There's chatter with an unknown contact about the letter and Monday. Michael consented, I asked, because it mattered. He did, she said. He also asked me to tell you he doesn't want to be part of a lie anymore. I stared at the table. The plastic surface had pocket knife initials cut into it from another life. So the job is vapor, I said. For now, Rodriguez said. But the ring, that's solid. We had a jeweler call in this morning. Reported a piece stolen on Friday. The description is a glove fit. My chest did that slow turn again. Friday. Jennifer was here Friday. People are a lot of places, Rodriguez said. We'll get camera pulls this afternoon. She clicked the recorder on and walked me back through the timeline until the day had its own spine. She asked about the tissue, about the smell, about the way the zipper caught. She took the casserole Mr. Thompson gave me as an exhibit of community pressure. Joking, she said, which I didn't have the room to enjoy. Best snack evidence I'll see this month. When we were done, she stood and rolled her shoulders like the day was sitting there too. Ms. Ford, she said, do you want a protective order? No, I said. The word surprised me with how quickly it came. I want a boundary, not a wall. She nodded the way people do when they understand more than they say. We'll keep you informed. I drove home with the air off and the windows down, letting October slap my face awake. The house stood where I left it, stubborn and square. Jennifer and Michael's car was gone. On my doormat, under Mr. Thompson's emptied Tupperware, someone had slid a manila envelope. No note. My name in block letters like a school project. Inside, a fresh print of the offer letter, but the watermark this time flowed perfectly through the G in Tech Solutions. I held it to the lamp. The diagonal line was clean. A ghost through the ink. The signature block had a date that wasn't there before. Today's. Printed like victory. My phone lit. A new text from an unsaved number. All set for Monday. Bring your ID. Congrats. Underneath it, another text from my bank. Reminder. Autodraft scheduled for midnight. Available balance low. I put the new letter next to the old. The fonts still argued. The watermark agreed. Even lies get better with practice. The house told me another truth. Then the front porch camera chimed. A clip titled with a thumbnail of a hand slipping the envelope into place. The thumb had a chipped, pale pink nail. I paused the frame and zoomed until the pixels got big enough to see the world through. The ring on that hand wasn't the stolen one. It was Michael's. And on the inside of the cheap band, where the glare caught, someone had scratched 3 letters with a household needle. TSG. Tech Solutions Group. I stared until the edges blurred. The steak timer on the counter, forgotten from last night, blinked 0:15 and began to beep like it had just remembered its job. I clicked it off with a finger that didn't feel like mine. The doorbell rang again, fast, 3 times. I picked up the new letter, held it like a live wire, and opened the door to find Michael on the step, eyes red, breath short. "I can explain," he said. "Then do it," I said, and tilted the page so the watermark cut clean across both our faces. Michael stood on my porch like the weather might tip him over. The letter in my hand felt warm, like it had its own pulse. "I panicked," he said. "I thought if the letter looked right, we could fix the rest." "Who's we?" I asked. His shoulders inched up, then held. "A friend from church. She knows someone who prints things for the board. She said she could help, just to grease the wheels." "Grease gets on everything," I said. "What's her name?" He looked past me into my house like the answer might be hiding with the coats. "You won't call her if I say." "I'll call her because you say," I said. "Michael, why the watermark this time? Why the sudden quality?" He swallowed. "Because you didn't buy the first one." A breeze snuck between us and flapped the page against my fingers. The watermark slid across the G like a skater who'd found their balance. "Jennifer told me to drop it off," he said. "So you'd stop doubting. So we could get the $3,000 deposit and be gone by the end of the week." "You keep saying we like it's a team," I said. "So tell me again why there was a ring in my drawer." His mouth flattened. "I didn't put it there." "And the tissue," I said. "Your jacket pocket last night." His eyes flashed. "We all have tissue. It doesn't make us thieves." "It makes you careless," I said. "Or careful in the wrong direction." He pressed a hand to his hair as if smoothing it could iron out the day. "I'm trying," he whispered. "Try honest," I said. "Start with the name." His phone buzzed in his palm. He didn't look. He didn't have to. I could see Jennifer's name in the tension of his wrist. "Come inside," I said. "You can drink water and tell the truth. 2 things that help everyone." In the kitchen, the light was friendlier in daylight, but it still told the truth. I set the new letter next to the old one. Side by side, they looked like siblings with different fathers. Michael wrapped both hands around the water glass. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," I said. "You're walking reality toward a cliff and calling it a shortcut." He let out a breath he'd been holding since last year. "She's scared, Barbara." "So am I," I said. "That's not a hall pass." His phone buzzed again. He glanced this time. The screen lit his face from below, making him look like a ghost telling himself a story. "What does Jennifer say?" I asked. "That she's got it in hand," he said. "That if we send the routing number, they'll hold her place. She said the text uses the right format now. That it's legit. The text asking for bank info to secure your $65,000 salary," I said, plain as drywall. The one the lieutenant read out loud to me with a straight face. He flinched. "She says it's a temp agency handling onboarding." "There's not a temp agency on earth that needs your account to prove you exist," I said. "They need your ID and your breath coming out of your mouth. That's it." Something in him cracked, not loud, just clean. "I know," he said. We stood in the quiet. The house hummed. A dog barked down the block. Somewhere a mower started and cut a new line between 2 lives. My mail slot clicked. A fat envelope skidded across the hall tile and slid to a stop against the table leg. I picked it up. The return address was a company I knew too well. The private lender I'd used the winter after Robert died when grief made me generous and bad at math. I slid it with my nail, felt the paper give. Notice of delinquency, in bold enough to bruise. A list underneath like a rap sheet. 2 payments missed on a small line I'd kept open for emergencies. A cashier's check copy attached with a stamped return. Undeliverable. No such person. I stared. I hadn't mailed that check. Barbara, Michael said. I handed him the page. She used my name, I said. My account. Mailed something that never left this house. He pressed a hand to his mouth. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe she took a picture of my checkbook. Maybe she printed her own. Maybe I'm done with maybe. I rubbed my chest where Dredd had set up a folding chair. Calling the bank. I put the phone on speaker because I wanted company for the holding music while a cheerful robot apologized for the delay. The porch camera chimed again. A clip. A shadow on my stoop. Quick and head down. I tapped it open. Jennifer, hat pulled low, sliding a white envelope under the mat. Michael's head sagged. She thought it would help. It does, I said. Just not the way she thinks. The bank agent came on in a bright tone. I gave names and numbers, the way you lay out tools before you fix something hard. I need to verify any pending drafts and any unusual activity, I said. And I need to freeze a line I didn't authorize. Yes, Ms. Ford, she said. Efficient typing sound in the background. I see an upcoming autodraft at midnight from your utilities account. And I see one pending transfer labeled Family Assistance, scheduled for today. $800. Is that yours? My throat went dry enough to spark. It is not. I can cancel it, she said. But I need you to confirm on the recorded line you did not authorize that transfer. I did not, I said. Cancel it. She did. I breathed. Anything else? I asked. A pause. A series of small attempted online payments that were declined over the weekend, she said. Grocery, gas, a loan company called Quick Advance. All declined for insufficient funds. Michael closed his eyes. Thank you, I said. Lock the account. Add a note. If Jennifer Ford calls, you tell her, her mother said no. I can't discuss other individuals, she said politely, like I'd asked her to break the weather. Right, I said. Then just write the word no in red. When I hung up, the house felt clearer. It also felt like it was waiting for something to fall. Jennifer's coming here, Michael said. She texted. She's 2 minutes away. From a brave decision, I said, or from a bad one. He set the glass down with care. You could show her the envelope. I could show her a mirror, I said. We didn't have to wait long. The door opened without a knock because I hadn't thrown the deadbolt. She filled the hallway and stopped, reading my face like a forecast. You called the bank, she said. Yes. She laughed without the part that makes it kind. You always go nuclear. I went adult, I said. There's a difference. She saw the delinquency notice on the table. That's not yours, I said. Your fake check made a loop, Jennifer. It came home like a dog that doesn't know the street. It's not fake, she said. It's complicated. I prefer simple, I said. Did you print a check from a scan? She stared at the wall and found a different subject. We can fix this with the job. I have the right letter now. She slapped the newer page with the watermark as if the paper could clap back. From who? I asked. Which person at this ghost number? She opened her mouth, closed it. It's a friend of a friend. Name, I said. She dragged her hands down her face. You think you always get the truth if you say name like that? No, I said. I get to find out who runs when I do. She smirked. You going to run to your cop friend? Have her tug on my pockets again. We could skip the middleman, I said. You could turn them out yourself. She stepped forward. We need 2,000 now, she said, soft as if volume could make it gentler. Before the end of the day. Then $3,000 for the deposit. You have it. You said after the funeral we were family and you'd take care of us. You said you had $47,000 put aside for storms. That was 3 years ago, I said. It rained. She blinked. Hurt flashed. Then anger tried on the coat again. You're hoarding, she said. You like saying no. I like saying yes to things that aren't holes, I said. You want a yes? Give me a job number, a supervisor name, a building with your footprint in the dust. Her jaw worked. She pointed at the letter. That is my yes. It's a printer's yes, I said. Paper makes promises people don't. Michael made a small sound, the kind you make when a plate slips and you can't catch it. Can we stop? He said. Please, just stop. We didn't. Not yet. Another knock. Not the doorbell. 3 short taps with the back of a knuckle. Lieutenant Rodriguez stepped inside when I waved her in. She nodded to both of them like she'd rehearsed the choreography of kindness. Afternoon. Jennifer rolled her eyes. Perfect. Rodriguez looked at the letters on the table. She didn't touch. We spoke with a jeweler, she said. Reported a piece matching last night's by setting and weight. We're pulling their camera footage and your porch clips. Great, Jennifer said. Maybe the ring floated in on a breeze and landed in Mom's bag with the tissue from the store that doesn't exist. Rodriguez considered her like a carpenter measuring a board. That's a lot of wind for October. She turned to Michael. Mr. Michael, can I ask where you got this letter? He glanced at me, then at the paper. His throat moved. A friend from church, he said finally, voice small with relief at choosing a fact. She runs a print shop for the community board. She said she had a template from last year. Rodriguez nodded. Name. He gave it. I recognized it, not from church, from a yard sign at the last HOA election. The one that made the neighborhood feel like a quiet argument for 2 months. Thank you, Rodriguez said. She wrote it in a small notebook that seemed to drink ink without getting wet. Then she looked at Jennifer's hands. You okay if I have a quick look at your jacket again? Jennifer pulled back. No, she said. Not without a warrant. I learned something last night. You learned I'm patient, Rodriguez said. That's a good lesson. Jennifer smirked and sat, legs out. A woman relaxing into a bad idea. Rodriguez turned to me. Ms. Ford, may I see the tissue from last night's drawer? We bagged the one from Jennifer's pocket, but I'd like to compare folds. It's logged, I said. But I've got the video. We watched the moment again. The white square in my hand, the way it opened like a small door. Rodriguez's eyes made a map. She paused, squinted, then set the phone down. What? I asked. The corner tear, she said. Here. She pointed to a tiny serration where the tissue had caught the zipper. If I line that with a second square and it dovetails, it suggests they were 1 sheet cut into 2. Who carries scissors to dinner? Jennifer said, contempt curdled by fear. People who plan, Rodriguez said mildly. Michael had turned very still. His purse sat open on the chair by his knee, a rectangular mouth waiting to say something. May I? Rodriguez asked him, nodding at it. He nodded once as if saying no would dislodge something he couldn't hold up anymore. She didn't reach in. She tipped it gently and watched. A wallet slid. Keys. A compact with a cracked lid. A folded square of white caught on the lining and sagged toward the mouth like a surrender flag. Rodriguez lifted it with 2 fingers, slow enough the air had time to agree. She laid it on the table beside my paused video frame. The tear on the corner matched the missing tooth on the square in the drawer like 2 edges of a confession. Is that from our bathroom? Jennifer said, but her voice had lost its jokes. Michael pressed both hands to the table and stared at his own knuckles. I tore it in half, he said. When I panicked. His breath hitched. I didn't want fingerprints. I thought tissue was clean. I felt something in my chest loosen and tighten at the same time. Why? I asked, and it came out softer than I meant. Did you help her? He looked up with eyes that had slept in their clothes. Because I thought if we made the lie big enough, it would turn true on contact. Rodriguez bagged the square without triumph. She didn't need it. The room had already changed shape. Jennifer stood as if the floor had started to tilt. "Michael," she said. A warning and a plea crushed together. He flinched like the air had burned him. "I can't," he said. "I won't." She turned on me like I was a simpler enemy. "You happy now?" "No," I said. "I'm hungry and tired, and the only steak I tasted this week was panic." She took a step. Rodriguez didn't block her. She didn't have to. Jennifer stopped on her own and laughed once into her sleeve. "You think this changes anything?" she said. "You'll still say no. You like it." "I like you alive," I said. "And free in that order. This is how we get you there. By handing me to the cops. By handing the truth a microphone," I said. Her mouth twisted. She grabbed her jacket off the chair, the left pocket sagging where the shape of last night still lived as a ghost. She reached for Michael's purse with her other hand. Maybe to steady herself, maybe to take it. He moved it away. The purse tilted and spit something else onto the table. A jewelry store business card with a gold script and a phone number on the back in Michael's neat block letters. Friday 4:15. Ask for layaway. The room let the time sit on the table like a tiny bell. Rodriguez slid the card beside the tissue. "That helps," she said, calm as weather. "A lot." Michael closed his eyes. "I was supposed to make a payment," he said. Before it got simpler. Jennifer made the sound of a woman hearing her own echo. Outside, a car horn yipped twice. Somewhere the neighbor's dog announced a stranger and then forgot why. Rodriguez's radio murmured. She lowered the volume without looking, eyes on Jennifer now, voice as even as the table. "We're going to take these," she said, nodding to the square and the card. "And we're going to have a longer talk today." Jennifer's jaw bunched. "I'm not going anywhere." Rodriguez didn't raise her voice. "You are," she said. "With me or with cuffs. You choose the door." Michael's purse sat between us, mouth open, the other half of the tissue matching the first like truth finding itself in pieces. The morning after felt like a bruise you keep forgetting until a sleeve brushes it. I brewed coffee and found the porch already working on my reputation. A fluorescent slip hung from the doorknob like a crime scene tag. Notice of community concern, all caps, polite font. Regarding late-night disturbances and the presence of police vehicles at 14 Magnolia Drive, please be mindful of neighborhood standards. Signed by the HOA board with the kind of friendliness that scratches paint. I read it twice, then a third time, as if repetition might swap words. The porch camera pinged with a new clip from 5:12 a.m. Mrs. Chen, walking her dog, slowed in front of my steps, bent to read the notice, glanced left, glanced right, then looked straight into my camera like she wanted to apologize and couldn't find the door. The kettle whistled. I poured water and fed the house caffeine. The house hummed back like a worker on break. By 10, my phone buzzed with a text from the foreman at the temp outfit. "Going to bump your slot till this cools. Some folks nervous. Next week, okay?" A friendly firing, the kind you can show your mirror. I stood with the phone in my hand and said out loud to the cabinets, "Okay," because saying it too would made it sound less like a loss. A cardboard trifold slid through the mail slot and slapped the tile. I picked it up. "Potluck tonight. Neighbor's night. Let's check in." With clip art balloons and a smiling casserole. Someone had scrolled "Bring a dessert" in red, then crossed it out and written "Bring questions" in smaller letters like a dare. I filed it with the notice. Blue and fluorescent. Gossip's color wheel. Michael texted at noon. "They asked me to come to church early. Family talk. Will you come?" I typed "no" and stared at the N until the O felt like a door closing too hard. I erased it. "I'll come. I won't lie for you." "I'm not asking you to," he wrote back. "Thank you." In the hallway mirror, I practiced a neutral face. It still looked like mine. The church basement smelled like coffee and donated winter coats. 4 folding chairs. 1 elder with gentle eyes and a gentle spine. 2 other women from the prayer chain whose smiles had edges. A table with a box of tissues the size of a boot. "Michael," the elder said, and took his hands like they were a bird he meant to set free and had forgotten how. "Sister Barbara," he said to me, nodding. "We're worried." "I am too," I said. He gestured for us to sit. "It's not good to involve police in family matters." "It's not good to involve theft," I said. One of the women cleared her throat with authority. "Scripture calls us to forgiveness." "Forgiveness isn't the absence of consequences," I said. "It's the willingness to stop lighting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm." The elder lifted a palm. "Peacemaker by habit. We're not making judgments. We just want to keep reputations intact." "Whose?" I asked. "Yours. Theirs." His eyes did a brief sweep of the room like he expected the word reputation to have ears. "Mrs. Chen has called 3 times this morning. She saw the lights." "I saw the cuffs," I said. "Both are true." Michael's hands nodded. "I helped her," he said, small but clear. "I tore the tissue. I delivered the letter. I thought if we kept performing, the life would arrive to meet us on stage." The elder's face changed in a way I wished it hadn't. Relief hidden behind concern. "Then perhaps you can make amends quietly." "I can make statements," he said. "To Lieutenant Rodriguez." The elder blinked, recalculating. "Is that necessary?" He looked at me. "Sometimes families need a boundary," I said. "Not a cover." He folded his hands. "We'll pray for wisdom." "Good," I said. "Pray for integrity while you're at it." From the hallway, a cluster of younger voices rose. Youth group shuffling chairs, laughing at nothing. Future still unspent. I remembered Robert whispering in that hall during Christmas prep, his breath fogging the air between us. I swallowed the memory before it replaced the room. We left the basement with paper cups of coffee and nothing resolved. In the parking lot, Michael touched my sleeve. "Thank you for coming." "I didn't do it for them," I said. "I know." We stood there a long beat, not saying Jennifer's name. At home, the day slipped into evening like it didn't have ankles. I reheated stew and stirred it until it tasted like yesterday. The porch cam pinged again at 4:43. Jennifer by my truck, hood up, her cap backward like a younger version had borrowed her. I saved the clip before I even watched it. She stood on her toes to look at my windshield, then ducked out of frame. 34 seconds later, she reappeared at my side mirror, cupping her hands to peer in like a woman pressed against the glass of a life she used to own. The clip ended with her face lifted toward the street, eyes narrowing at something I couldn't see. She vanished again. I went out to check. The truck smelled like old coffee and cut pine. On the dash, under the wipers, she'd tucked a post-it. "Talk to me without cops. J." I pulled it off and felt the glue's small insistence. I put it in my pocket in case I needed to remember the handwriting. At 7, I carried a store-bought pie and my reputation to the potluck on the green. Tables covered in checked cloth stretched like a question mark under the oaks. Kids ran in loops. Parents smiled with their teeth. The HOA president, hair perfect, smile precise, stood near the sign-in sheet like a flight attendant announcing turbulence. "Barbara," she said like we'd been mid-conversation since June. "So glad you came. Have a slice." "I brought one," I said, and set my pie down where the desserts formed a sweet parade. Mrs. Chen lifted a plastic lid and executed a half-hug that smelled like sesame oil. "You okay?" she murmured. "No," I said. "But I'm upright." She nodded with relief like being upright counted. The president cleared her throat into a microphone that didn't need it. "Neighbors," she trilled. "Let's check in. Safety, courtesy, our little community." She smiled toward me without aiming. We all have nights we wish had gone differently. We also all have responsibilities to one another. Mr. Thompson, robe traded for a cardigan, raised his hand before the speech ended. Are we talking about police lights? He asked, deeply invested in civic clarity. A handful of heads turned in my direction like sunflowers finding light. I made my face into wood. We're talking about supporting each other, the president said. If someone is struggling, we offer resources. Quietly. A teen with a skateboard muttered resources, like it was a new brand of chips. Mrs. Chen leaned over. You can leave, she whispered. I can stand, I said. My voice surprised me with how soft it was. A woman I didn't know well, 2 streets over, big porch, chimed in. My cousin's neighbor had her daughter get mixed up with a pawn place. It happens. It doesn't make you bad people. It makes you broke people, someone else said, trying to be funny. I thought of the line I'd fed myself for 3 years. Storms, reserves, $47,000. A generosity that had turned vendor of resentment. I cut a piece of my own pie and ate it without tasting. After the speeches, the casserole line formed and gossip unfurled like ribbon. I felt pressure at my elbow and found the elder from church holding a paper plate. Sister Barbara, he said quietly. The board asked me to ask you to keep things calm. Would you like to borrow my porch? I asked. It has good acoustics. He winced. My request comes with love. Love is more useful when it arrives with spine, I said. He nodded once like he'd earned that. I made it through 40 minutes without a question with a question mark. When I started to hope, a woman with sharp eyeliner and a sharper smile caught me near the lemonade. Your girl, she said. She around tonight? She said, girl, like I'd raised a stray that kept digging in flower beds. She's 31, I said. And no. She pursed her lips. Shame gets easier when they move out. Harder too, she added, as if benevolence tasted sour. I excused myself and walked the long way home. The air had the first real bite of the season. Leaves whispered about other years. On my porch, another HOA slip flapped under a magnet shaped like a seahorse. Reminder. Vehicle parking. No street parking on leaf pickup days. A fine, small, but the kind that adds up until it tilts. I was tired of small things adding up. Inside, I put the pie tin in the sink and called Rodriguez. She answered on the second ring like a woman who knew her phone better than her bed. Lieutenant, I said. Got a clip for you. Send it, she said. I did. She texted back a minute later. Good capture. Timestamp 4:43 p.m. I replied. There's a cut. She looks off camera. Something else on the curb. Keep an eye on your truck, she wrote. We're still pulling the jeweler's footage. And for what it's worth, gossip peaks on day 2, fades by day 5 unless fed. In this neighborhood, it's on a protein shake, I said. She chuckled, a small human sound in a long official day. We'll swing by tonight for a drive-through. I set the phone down and listened to the house breathe. The third stair creaked when the furnace came on, which meant cold was knocking. I lingered in the hall, watching the purse on the table as if it had more to say. At 9:12, the porch cam pinged again. I thumbed the alert and watched Jennifer's earlier visit one more time, looking for something I'd missed. She had that half-hop she gets when she's worried and trying not to look like it. She checked the driver's side, then moved past the hood and raised her head toward the street. I scrubbed back 3 seconds. Forward 4, the way you coax a truth into view. Behind her, across the lane, something moved at knee height. A shape slid into the frame from the sidewalk. A second pair of legs moving slow, stopping near my mailbox like a person reading a menu. I paused, zoomed. The angle was bad, light worse, but the shoes were distinctive. White with a neon stripe I'd seen once before. Michael's friend from church. The one who knew people who printed for the board. The one whose yard sign had promised to keep our neighborhood safe. I backed out and checked earlier notifications. At 4:39, for minutes before Jennifer, the same shoes had visited the green, lingered at the HOA board, walked my direction, then flicked out of sight at the corner. At 4:41, the shoes again, pausing at my neighbor's hedge. At 4:43, Jennifer. At 4:44, the shoes returned and then stopped dead at my curb, body out of frame, intent inside it. I stepped onto the porch and let the night air rinse my face. The street lay quiet, lamp posts making small islands of honesty. On the mailbox, a faint smear of black like someone's glove had gripped the lid too hard. I went back in and queued the clips into a folder labeled Porch and the rest of the date. I wrote myself a note. Ask Rodriguez, what happens when two lies overlap? Do they argue or do they hold each other up? At 9:26, someone slid something under my door. No knock, just the soft shove of paper on wood. A plain envelope, no return address. Inside, a photo printed at home. Grainy, off angle, of my truck parked by the curb. Across the bed of the truck in thick black marker that bled through the paper. Stop. On the back, nothing. No signature, no hint. I stood in my kitchen with the photo and the HOA notice and the potluck flyer. 3 shades of the same warning. The house hummed like it wanted to argue and didn't know which point to start with. The porch cam pinged again. A new clip. A figure in a hoodie stepped into frame, quick, lifted my wiper blade and tucked something underneath. I opened the door fast enough to pull air through the house. The figure was gone. A shadow learning to run. Under the wiper, the same photo, new ink, same hand. Stop or we make you. I put it next to the first one on the table under the warm kitchen light, and the paper curled at the edges where threat met humidity. The grill timer, reset by my thumb without thinking, ticked down from 0:30 and began to beep like a small, insistent heart. I clicked it off and looked at the porch camera screen one more time. Frame by frame, Jennifer lifted her head. Frame by frame, the second pair of shoes stopped. Frame by frame, someone not my daughter, reached toward my truck with a purpose that didn't belong to a family fight. I paused on the hand mid-reach. The neon stripe glowed like a road I didn't want but had to drive. Then I hit save because the house had told me a truth that needed a witness. We weren't alone in this lie anymore. Morning put a clean shirt on the street but didn't change the smell. Coffee, damp leaves, a thin thread of rubber from someone breaking too hard last night. I held the photo with "Stop or we make you" until my fingers warmed the paper and the threat started to curl. I texted Rodriguez the second picture and the clip of the neon-striped shoes. Not just Jennifer, she called. Got it. I'm looping in property crimes on the truck shots. Also, good news. The jeweler filed a formal report. Distinctive setting. 4-prong cathedral with knife-edge shank. That narrows it. Knife edge. I said, staring at the dull butter knife in my sink. Sounds right. And she added, your HOA friend, the one with the print shop. She's on our calendar. Not a suspect yet. A conversation. Conversation is where lies go to rehearse, I said. She made that almost laugh she saves for lines she won't write in reports. Keep your porch cam rolling. We're running store pulls. One shop might close before we get there. Which one? Pawn place on 83rd. Owner posted a ring last night on their IG. The caption's vague, but the picture looks like our 4-prong cousin. They close early today. Then I'll get there first, I said. Barbara. I won't touch, I said. I'll look. Looking is free. The pawn shop sat in a row of stores that never learned to smile. Bars over the glass. Bell with more attitude than authority. Inside, guitars that had run out of songs, cameras that had seen too many faces, and a glass case with jewelry that remembered other hands. The clerk was a woman with half-moon glasses and a stare like the ocean. Calm until it wasn't. Help you. I'm looking, I said, and tilted my phone. You posted a ring last night. 4 prongs, sharp shoulders. She didn't look at the phone. She looked at my face the way a doctor reads weather. Lots of rings. Knife edge, I said. Cathedral shoulders. The kind that catches light like it thinks it invented it. Her mouth had to choose between a smile and its job. The smile lost. She motioned to the case. Third tray, right side. A ring sat in a white slot like a seat-belted child. I leaned in. The center stone was a clean window. The light inside it felt like truth before someone touched it. The setting made the shoulders look like blades pointed up at hope. May I? I asked. You can look through the glass, she said. You can't handle merchandise without intent to buy. I intend to identify. She lifted a brow. You a cop. Homeowner, I said. Victim adjacent. Those are the worst, she said, and reached under the case, pulled the tray with a scarred economy, and set it on the glass. She didn't take the ring out. She let it sit there, 3 inches closer. The way mercy moves. I had a ring in my house last night, I said. In an evidence bag by now. This looks like its cousin. Cousins make bad witnesses, she said. You want the truth? You want a receipt. The bell piped and let in a man with a winter hat and a trumpet case. The clerk didn't take her eyes off me. 15 minutes, she said. We close early today. Inventory. Micro clocks on. I pulled out my phone and opened my porch cam app. Friday, 4:15. The clip of the business card in Michael's purse reminded my finger where to go. Friday, 4:15. Ask for layaway. Not this store, a different one. But the time wasn't a coincidence. Criminals aren't that creative. I thumbed through the pawn shop's IG again. Found the ring post. Hashtags like a net. One tag caught me. Prism Jewelers. A different store. I tapped. Chased. Their feed was prettier, their cases cleaner, their captions smug. 3 days ago, custom cathedral setting. Chef's kiss. My eyes crawled the photo until they found the same knife edge line. The pawn clerk caught the direction of my stare. You want prism? She said, already bored. We buy what walks in. We don't ask where it learned to walk. Do you keep intake photos? I asked. We keep what the law says we keep. And what's the law say? She smiled with 3 teeth. Not to tell you. I took a breath and let it out slow. Thanks for the cousin, I said, and left before I started an argument with an ending. Crystal and Stone Jewelers looked like it had opinions about people like me. Chrome letters, white light that made everything look a little too possible. A greeter with lashes for days and a watch that cost a month of groceries. The kind of place where cash is considered loud. Welcome to Crystal and Stone, she sang. Shopping for something special? Returning something stolen, I said. Or confirming. Her face did that professional micro-flinch. We pride ourselves on inventory. And cameras, I said. A man in a suit that fit tighter than the truth drifted across the floor. Can I assist? I told the story in the professional rhythm I'd learned from Rodriguez. First beats only. Found a ring. Police bagged it. Unique setting. A pawn shop cousin. No names. No daughter. No kitchen. He listened with the posture of someone who gets robbed by lawyers. We did have a burglary Friday, he said finally. Small items. Quick hands. We log serials where we can. Diamonds don't have serials. Pictures do. You posted a cathedral shoulder 2 weeks ago, I said. The curve matches. The stone's size makes it hard to forget. He nodded at a woman behind the counter. She opened a drawer, pulled a printed sheet. Layaway list with amounts and names, some blocked with marker. The man covered the column headings with his hand like a magician protecting the trick. We cannot share customer information. I'm not a customer. I'm the after picture. He smoothed the page like nerves. We can share with police. Call them, I said. He turned to the woman. Get me the incident number. Do you have a case number? I gave him Rodriguez's card. He disappeared toward a glass office with a phone that did important things at a distance. While he was gone, a young clerk with diamond studs and a face like a startled deer tapped the glass case. Pretty, isn't it? She said, nodding toward the display with the cathedral setting I'd seen online. We call it the Crystal Blade. Makes the light stand up and salute. Has anyone Crystal Blade shopped then pawned it before pickup? I asked. She laughed softly. You'd be surprised. Nothing surprises me this week, I said. Shop closes in 15, she added. Just so you know. The man returned with a printed photo from their sales binder. A cathedral ring, same knife edge, same shoulder angle. He set it on the counter, careful like it might bite. Our piece, he said. Custom order last month. Deposit made. Pickup planned for a... He glanced at the page in the drawer. Friday 4:15. I asked. He froze a fraction of a second. 4 o'clock. Close enough to count, I said. Name. He put a finger over the line. Police. The bell tinkled. 2 women came in talking too loud for the room. He smiled at them with half his face and turned back to me with the rest. We'll call your officer. Meanwhile, do you know a Michael? Heat rose up my back like a stove turned on under my shirt. Why? He flipped the page so the corners didn't lift details into the air. Because we have a layaway slip with a Michael as secondary contact. Phone number blank. May I see? You may not, he said. But you may observe that a padlock icon on the screen means we protect information. Does a pen icon mean someone's going to sign? He leaned in, dropped the store voice. This is me doing as much as I can without handcuffs. If your officer arrives before we close, I can follow the handbook. If not, come back with her tomorrow. We're here 9 to 5. No Sundays. Friendly hours for sinners, I said. He almost smiled. We sell redemption 1 stone at a time. It's a living. My phone buzzed. Rodriguez. We're 10 out. Keep them friendly. I showed the screen. The manager's posture loosened like a suit exhaling. In the 10 minutes it took, I walked the display cases like a woman planning a proposal for someone she didn't like. Every oval held a story with a budget. Every round cut was a promise that had survived rehearsal. I stopped at the wall of band engravings, sampler rings with fake inside initials. J plus K. M Heart LH. P. The font on the M Heart LH matched the shallow scratch I'd seen inside Michael's cheap ring. TSG. People rehearsed truth even in false metals. Rodriguez came in with a uniform who took up space like a good tree. The manager's smile blossomed into pure relief. Lieutenant. Afternoon. Rodriguez flashed the practiced half-second badge and set her notebook open like a docking station. We're here about your burglary and a ring with a distinctive setting. They talked in the dance that professionals do when money and crime shake hands. Papers changed custody. The manager produced a layaway slip under a clear sleeve like a presentation. Rodriguez read without moving her mouth. She tapped the line with her pen. Secondary contact, she said. Her eyes flicked to me. That was all. The manager brought out a separate sheet. Intake log for Friday 4:12 p.m. A man described as late 20s, hair-pinned, nervous laugh, asked about pickup procedure. Paid small cash. Didn't leave with merchandise. What did he touch? Rodriguez asked. Counter, the young clerk said. And tissues. We all looked at each other like we'd heard a bell only we could hear. Rodriguez nodded to the uniform who stepped out to call the burglary number in. She turned back to the manager. Can you print a still from your floor camera? The moment the payment was made. Yes. The man disappeared. The young clerk wiped the counter with a polished cloth as if her palms could erase Friday. While we waited, my phone shook with a text. An unknown number again. Routing details confirmed. Welcome aboard Monday. The lie had found a better font. I showed Rodriguez. She typed, lips thin. The manager returned with a laser-printed still, grain-grayed at the edges. A man at the counter, back 3/4 to the camera, hair pinned tight, hand in a purse. The wrist had a cheap band with a slogan. I recognized a church retreat bracelet from last year. The face turned just enough for light. Michael. My breath punched once. There, I said. Rodriguez angled the page to the glass and lined it with the crystal blade in the display. The world made a braid. The picture, the ring, the truth between. Date stamp says Friday, she said. 4/13. Close enough to cut, I said. Do you want to file your supplementary statement now? She asked quietly. Or do you want to wait till neighbor's night is off your calendar? I want a second copy of that image in my pocket, I said. Everything else can line up behind it. The manager printed one more, re-sleeved it, and slid it across to Rodriguez, who slid it to me. Paper has weight when it changes what you can't unknow. We were almost done when the door chimed again. A woman with white sneakers and a neon stripe walked in like a question she'd practiced. She saw me and gave the smallest not smile. Recognition hiding behind manners. She drifted to the cases, pretending to admire watches. Rodriguez's gaze touched her and moved on. Friend of yours? She asked me without moving her lips. Of the board, I said. The neon stripes turned toward the bands, then toward the exit, then toward us. She balanced all 3 directions like a woman tasting which way fear ran fastest. The manager cleared his throat. We're closing in 3 minutes. The sneakers hesitated and left. The bell sounded relieved. Rodriguez tucked the stills into a folder. We'll talk to Michael today, she said. And your HOA printer. You think she printed the letter? I think she printed a lot of things, Rodriguez said. We'll ask which. The clerk locked the door behind us, the click of good glass against good metal. Outside, the sky had moved one shade closer to dark, and the wind had picked up enough to make the flags on the green complain. We walked toward our cars. Rodriguez stopped at the curb, eyes on the horizon like the ending might pull itself closer if invited. We'll swing by your place after this, she said. Keep the porch light on. I always do, I said. Even when I shouldn't. When I got home, the house took a deep breath and held it. On my table, the photo with "Stop or we make you" lay beside the still from Crystal and Stone like 2 hands you didn't want to shake. The porch cam pinged. A new clip. An envelope slid under my mat again, palm flat, wrist familiar. I opened the door fast enough to catch the tail of a scent. Hairspray and something like cheap sugar. The envelope wasn't anonymous this time. Crystal and Stone's logo in the corner. Inside, a carbon copy of a layaway slip. Payment line, $250 cash. Remaining balance, a number with too many zeros. Customer, block letters. Jennifer. Secondary, blank. At the bottom, signature, tight, careful, like someone had taught him to put on handwriting like lipstick. Michael's. The house didn't tell me a truth this time. The paper did. The message came mid-morning as if it had been waiting for my coffee to cool. Community Mediation Center. Neutral circle scheduled for today 4 p.m. at residence of Ford. Parties, Barbara Ford, Jennifer, Michael. Mediator, M. Rowan. Please prepare a short statement of goals. A second text from a local number followed fast, bright with reassurance. I'm Marcus. We keep things calm. Not court, not cops. A conversation with rails. Rails were good. Trains still crash on them. I swept the living room the way you tidy before an apology. The lamp made its honest circle. I put the Crystal and Stone still and the "Stop or we make you" photo in a file folder and slid it under the couch. Evidence helps conversations like matches help dry hay. At 4:02, the doorbell rang. I opened to a man with a canvas bag and a voice that could land a plane. Late 30s, hair like he'd cut it himself to make a point. Clipboard with a felt tip clipped sideways. "Marcus," he said, offering a hand palm down. "No squeeze contest. Thank you for opening your home." "It's what I have," I said. He took the room in as if measuring for chairs, which he was. He pulled 4 from the dining table and set them in a loose square, corners rounded toward each other. "No one sits at the head," he said. "Circle only." Jennifer and Michael arrived together, not touching. She had the swagger of a woman who'd watched a video on confidence at 1.25x speed. He had a coat on inside like armor. Marcus smiled with his eyes, not his mouth. "Before we start, ground rules. We speak from I. We don't interrupt. We name what we need. We can end any time." Jennifer slouched into a chair. "I need this to not be a trap." "Great," he said, making a check that meant nothing and everything. "Barbara." "I need the truth to sit in a chair and stop moving," I said. Michael sat straight back and folded his hands in his lap like a school portrait. "I need to stop helping the wrong thing." Marcus planted boots. "I'm here to help you hear each other, not to decide guilt." "Ready?" No one said yes. We began. "Ms. Ford," he said. 2 minutes. "Goals." "My goal is to keep my dignity," I said, "and my house mine. To stop financing a hole. To turn the porch light on without worrying who sees me through the glass." He nodded. "Thank you." "Jennifer." She stared at the ceiling long enough to pick a fight with God and then let it go. "I want to reset," she said. "No cops, no neighbors, no sermons. Just my mom and me. She used to have my back." "That was a different back," I said before I could stop it. "Let her finish," Marcus said gently, copper wire in his tone. Jennifer's jaw moved. "I want help. I want grace," she said, choking on the name like it could hear her. Michael blinked. "I want to stop using paper to make a life," he said. "And I want Jennifer to use her mouth for truth." "Okay," Marcus said, making a constellation of checks. "Now we name harms. You can pass. No one owes the room their insides." No one passed. Jennifer went first, surprising me by choosing the short blade. "You called the bank," she said to me. "You embarrassed me. You like a gotcha." "I stopped a transfer I didn't authorize," I said. "If humiliation is behind that door, it knocked itself out on the frame." "Keep it an eye, please," Marcus said to both of us without looking up. "I felt humiliated," Jennifer corrected, eyes hard. "And judged. And like you'd rather be right than be family." The word family did its old trick in my chest. "My harm," I said, "was waking up in a house where my purse was a crime scene because someone I love chose it as a stage. My harm is neighbors measuring my worth by blue lights and a flyer. My harm is being told a letter was real when it had more toner than truth." Michael folded in closer. "My harm," he said, "is that I became someone who rips tissue to avoid fingerprints. I broke my own mirror. My harm is letting money dress up as love and then applauding." Marcus listened like a job. "Thank you. Now, proposals. Boundaries that are not punishments. Support that is not enabling." I took a breath and measured the pieces like lumber. "Proposal. I will not give cash. I will not co-sign. I will not provide routing numbers, paycheck loans, bridges, ramps to bridges." My mouth almost smiled and didn't. "I will, however, drive you to the career center. I will review a lease for red flags. I will keep a Sunday dinner chair empty but available for as long as honesty eats with us." Jennifer's sneer was automatic. The muscles did it out of habit before the brain asked. "Conditional love." "Conditional aid," I said. "Love is a light I don't know how to turn off. Money is a switch I can reach." "Jennifer," Marcus said, eyes kind, tone not. "Your proposal." She ran a hand over her hair and found straw. You give me 2,000 today. We forget the rest. I start Monday. She shot me a look like a dare. Then added, without proof that keeps changing. Marcus's pen stopped. We're going to push that one aside, he said, as if moving a hot pan. Try again without a number. She blew air out. Fine. You stop with the cop friend. You stop sharing family business with strangers. You stop making me the villain at potlucks. I set my hands on my knees so they wouldn't point. I didn't call the police, I said. You did. I called a boundary. Michael cleared his throat. My proposal. Jennifer, we go tomorrow to the jeweler and the police, and we tell the truth. We return what we can. We make a plan that includes words like restitution and counseling, even if they taste like metal. He turned to me. Barbara, you stop being alone. Let the church help with logistics, not lies. Marcus smiled at the list. Okay, now pressure checks. What ifs? What breaks us? A car horn beeped twice outside. The room flinched together. I could feel the block pressing a glass to our wall. What if Monday is a scam? I said. Jennifer looked away. It won't be. What if it is? Marcus asked her. Name the plan that doesn't involve Barbara's bank. She hesitated just long enough to reveal the lack. Then a temp gig, she said. 3 shifts, something to patch until the real thing. Good, he said, writing patch in caps. What if neighbors keep whispering? Then let them, I said. They can borrow breath elsewhere. The first 20 minutes burned clean, then the air shifted. Jennifer leaned forward. You like the power, she said to me, voice lower, sharper. You liked it when Lieutenant Rodriguez clicked metal on me. I liked the part where the truth walked into the room, I said. You could have handled it in-house, she said. Like family. You could have asked me why there was a ring instead of opening the drawer like you were the judge. I opened a drawer in my kitchen, I said. You opened my life to the street. Gentle, Marcus said, but Jennifer had built momentum and couldn't read signs anymore. You think Dad would have done this, she said, spitting Robert's absence into the circle like a curse. Everything in me froze and boiled at once. Don't, I said. She smiled like a woman who'd found a soft spot. He would have handed me the $3,000 and said, we'll talk later. He would have believed me because he believed people. He believed in consequences, I said. He believed in me because I learned them. He believed you had money, she snapped. You said $47,000 after the funeral. Remember. You made promises that my life heard and didn't forget. Heat stacked inside my ribs. I promised grief money, not scam money. Marcus raised a hand. Time out, he said. Breathe. We breathed. The room cooled by an inch. Let's step into the practical, he said. Jennifer, do you consent to a short-term agreement? You do not contact Barbara about funds. Barbara, you do not contact Jennifer except about logistics. Michael, you document all communications for 30 days and share with both. We reconvene in 2 weeks with a progress list. If anyone violates, we consider a no-contact order. Jennifer laughed. Harsh. A restraining order for talking to my mother. It's a tool, he said, calm as a level. We prefer not to use it. We prefer choices. She kicked at the chair leg, then froze, catching herself becoming the teenager she thought she'd outgrown. Fine, she muttered. Whatever keeps everyone from dialing 911 when I breathe. Good, he said, making a big contented checkmark. Now we close with a statement of commitment. 1 sentence. I commit to, followed by a verb. Keep it specific. Michael went first. I commit to telling the truth even when it eats the future I imagined. I followed. I commit to keeping the porch light on and the wallet closed. Jennifer stared at the window. In the glass, a neighbor's dog did laps around a yard that had never learned boredom. She pressed her lips together. I commit to showing up Monday, she said. And if it's not real, I commit to not calling you first. It wasn't the sentence I wanted. It was a start that scared me. Marcus smiled like a teacher dismissing class on a snow day. Circle complete. I'll email a summary. You can all hate me in your heads and thank me in your hearts. It's the service. We stood. The room shifted back into my living room like a boat resettling in its slip. Marcus packed his pen and the odd sense of safety he'd brought in with it. At the door, he touched my arm. By the way, he said low. The photos. Don't lead with them. Let her walk to the edge first. Then show her where she stands. Exactly, I said. He slipped out into the late light. Jennifer hesitated. She looked at the table the way you look at a cliff you've stood on before. We done? She asked. For today, I said. Leave your copy of The Lie at the door next time. She snorted. You rehearse that? I live with it, I said. Michael hovered. Thank you, he whispered to me. For not drowning me with her, he said, eyes wet and bright. Don't stand too close to the edge, I said. Wind's up. They left together, not touching. The house took a breath and let it out slow. I went to the sink and turned on the tap just to hear water that didn't argue. The faucet hissed its small weather. I dried my hands on a clean towel because I needed that word somewhere in the room. My phone buzzed with a new text from a number I didn't have to pretend not to know. Last chance before Monday. Routing number or offer goes to the next candidate. A link sat under it, short and smug. I screenshotted it, forwarded it to Rodriguez with a caption that tasted like pennies. They got better at fonts. She replied near instantly. Don't click. We'll add to report. Also, Crystal and Stone gave us a positive ID on Michael for Friday. We'll be in touch tomorrow. I put the phone down and stood in the hush that comes after a day's arguments have used up their verbs. Then the banking app chirped. I didn't touch it at first. You learn to let some alarms ring so you can hear the house under them. The third stair creaked as the furnace kicked. The lamp hummed. The porch camera clicked softly once like it was clearing its throat. I thumbed the notification. Pending transfer. Family assistance. $600 scheduled today, 6:30 p.m. From an account I didn't recognize at first because I'd labeled it years ago with optimism. Robert Fund. My hands went cold. The Robert Fund was a little savings pocket I'd kept for soft things. Choir robes, casseroles for funerals that weren't mine, a kid's cleats when the team fees went up. The one account I hadn't locked because I thought decency could be left unlocked. The memo line read, Bridge to Monday. The timer on the counter I hadn't touched blinked 0:10 and began to beep like a small frantic bird. I clicked it off with a finger I didn't recognize and stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. Then I opened my mouth and said very quietly to no one, No. The house heard me. The bank would too. I stood in the kitchen with the banking app open and the word Robert looking back at me like a dare. Pending transfer, family assistance, $600 scheduled 6:30 p.m. The memo line, Bridge to Monday. I hit cancel and the app asked, bright as a teller, Are you sure? I said yes to a question I should have answered years ago. A red banner slid across. Cancelled. A second screen appeared like a trapdoor. Dispute window, 24 hours. A clock icon winked. Smug. Micro clock set. I drove to the branch anyway. Screens lie. Desks don't. The lobby smelled like pens on chains. The manager listened without blinking and clicked things until the transfer died a recorded death. Lock the Robert Fund, I said. Double key, new nickname. Call it No. Her fingers flew. Done. On the way home, I stopped at the pharmacy for aspirin and a flu shot because bodies insist on regular life. At the counter, The card reader made a sound like a disappointed teacher. Declined, the clerk said loud enough to teach the line a new word. Run it again, I said. Different account. He did. The second card hiccuped, thought better, then spat out, hold for ID, on the little screen that tells your business to strangers. The woman behind me sighed the sigh of people who have never had their life on pause in public. I handed over my license and a smile that felt stapled on. The clerk squinted at the screen. Did you authorize a transfer today? He asked, trying to be gentle with a question shaped like a brick. I authorized a stop, I said, and the man behind me muttered something about Sunday school. The clerk handed back my card like it had confessed to him personally. You're good, he said. System was catching up. Outside, I sat in the truck until the adrenaline fell out of my hands. A text from an unknown number landed like a fly. We can still hold your slot if you send $300 now. Balance on Monday with first check. Congrats in advance. The lie had learned to lower its voice. I screenshotted it and sent it to Rodriguez, adding, to the choir, I wrote. She replied. Copy. We interviewed Michael. He confirmed the Friday visit. Coming by at 7 to pick up your stills. At home, I called the mobile carrier. Cancel the shared line, I said. The woman on the phone asked 3 times, Are you sure? Like she'd been trained to save marriages. I was sure. The line died in my ear and the silence afterward felt like a room with a window finally open. Michael called 5 minutes later from a different number. My phone went dark. Was that? He said. Yes, I said. If Jennifer needs to talk to me, she can borrow your mouth with you in the room. He didn't argue. I told Rodriguez about the call, he said. We rehearsed it Friday afternoon. I told Jennifer to say domestic dispute so it would get priority. I told her to use your name. I thought. You thought the lights would scare me back into yes, I said. Yes. Quiet as a scratch. Thank you for telling the truth, I said. Keep going. I'm tired, he said. But I will. At 6:12 p.m., the app pinged again. Attempted transfer, family assistance, $600 from the Robert Fund, which now wore the name No and still caught a hand reaching. The system flagged it. Blocked, underneath. If this wasn't you, you have 24 hours to dispute. I already did, I told my phone like it could learn. At 6:27, the porch cam picked up Jennifer's silhouette at the end of my walkway, just out of the light. She didn't come up. She stood like a woman deciding if the edge was ocean or pond. The doorbell rang at 6:59. Rodriguez, coat open, a look that said she hadn't had dinner and didn't expect to. She took my folder of printed stills, flipped, nodded. Crystal and stone, pawn, HOA pal with the neon stripe, she said, counting beats with a pen. And Michael. Michael, I asked. He signed a statement, she said. Said aloud what he's been saying to himself for a week. We'll let a judge separate consequence from confession. She looked toward the porch. She's close, she said. Jennifer. People circle their anchors, she said. Even when they hate boats. We stood a minute in the open door like we were waiting for weather. The house breathed. The street kept its secrets like a hobby. Rodriguez's radio murmured. She lowered the volume without looking. I'll be in touch tomorrow, she said. Get some rest. Tell Rest to answer the door, I said. After she left, I heated soup I wasn't hungry for and ate it because bodies insist. The lamp threw its honest circle. I put the stop or we make you photo under a book like paperweights could stop escalation. At 8:04, my phone buzzed with an email from the bank. Dispute filed. Window closes 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. It felt like a fuse captioned politely. I went to bed and stared at the ceiling like it might blink first. Sleep came in parts. Every time it left, the house told me which hour had climbed onto my chest. Sometime after midnight, the porch cam chimed. A shadow, cap low, hands in pockets, walked up my path. I reached for my phone and watched from my pillow the way cowards and mothers do. Jennifer. She didn't ring. She bent to the mat and slid an envelope under with 2 fingers like laying down a card she hated. Then she turned to leave and paused. Her head cocked toward the street. She lifted her left hand to adjust her hat. Light caught something in her palm. I thumbed the clip back frame by frame until the pixels became a mosaic and then a truth. A pale square of tissue peeking between her fingers, edges blunt from folding. In the crook of her thumb, a circle of metal flashed and vanished. A ring. Not big enough to be crystal and stone's cathedral. Not small enough to be invisible. Not the one in the evidence bag. Something else. Something that still meant she was touching a fire with bare hands. I jolted upright and went for the door. By the time I opened it, the street was a painting again. I picked up the envelope. Barbara, in block letters. No return. Inside, a photo printed on cheap paper. The ring from my kitchen drawer, zoomed from my own video, my hand holding it. Below in marker, I'll fix it. Don't call. I stood in the doorway while the porch light drew bugs to its sermon. The wind pushed a dry leaf up the walk like it was trying to get inside. My phone buzzed in my palm. Another porch cam clip. A few minutes earlier. Jennifer's face in profile, jaw set, left hand lifting, the thin band flashing, the tissue tucked like a magician's seed. I paused on the frame where the circle caught the light just enough to prove itself, then saved it because the house told me a truth I didn't want. Whether or not Monday was real, Jennifer had a ring in her hand tonight. Morning made the kitchen look innocent, which is a kind of lie. I put the note Jennifer had slid under the mat. I'll fix it. Don't call. In a zip bag and set it beside the stop or we make you photo like they belong to the same mouth. The envelope had the faint smell of her perfume if I leaned in and pretended it mattered. Rodriguez texted at 9:03. We're coming by at 10 to rewalk the scene. Keep the purse where it was. I put the purse on the hall table 5 inches from the pantry door, zipper facing the drawer like a gun that had been unloaded in public. The house hummed a bass line. The third stair creaked on cue when the heat kicked. A reminder track laid under the day. They arrived at 9:58. Rodriguez and her partner from the first night. Same steady knot smile, evidence kit in a handled bin. Rodriguez stepped in like the house and she had a truce. Morning, Ms. Ford. Lieutenant. She looked at the hall geometry as if a math problem had raised its hand. We'll keep this simple. Reenactments help juries and liars. One stops guessing, the other trips. She set a small body cam style recorder on her chest and tapped it. Rolling. The partner snapped on gloves. The sound always hits like the first cold step into a pool. Walk us through, Rodriguez said. From grill to drawer. I did. Hand on the grill knob. Timer chirping. The pivot from smoke to kitchen light. The throwaway about steak knives. The half-inch zip that caught tissue like a fish hook. I let the memory run through me until it made a muscle again. At the drawer, I propped my phone against the bread box the way I had, camera open, recording the empty space as if it still held yesterday. The partner leaned in, eyes narrowed to a fine line. Angle here, I said, and shifted the phone a degree. Hands in frame, zipper, tissue. Rodriguez stood behind me, so close I could feel the consideration, not the heat. Good. Hold the beat where you lifted the square. I held air where the white had been. My palm tingled like a ghost touch. She nodded once. Now the drawer. I opened it to reveal nothing but the same plain white envelope and the groove its brief history had made at the front. The partner swabbed the groove with a half-inch of foam. Her movements were careful enough to make the room respectful. Rodriguez tilted her head toward the hall. Let's talk distance. She crouched by the baseboard scuff, touched it with her knuckle like greeting an old mark. 5 inches, she said. You put this bag down routinely. Job habit, I said. Off the shoulder, drop, keys, breath. How many people knew it lived here? she asked. 2, I said. Me and anyone who pays attention. Attention's underrated, she said. We moved to the living room circle, that honest lamp throwing its island. Rodriguez took a seat. Not the center, not the front. New elements since last we spoke. I gave her the midnight envelope in the zip bag and the clip of Jennifer on the porch. Left hand lifting, thin band catching, tissue tucked like a stage whisper. I watched her face the way you watch the horizon for weather. She kept it still, which is a read in itself. The band, she said, tapping the screen at the flash. Can you show me Michael's ring again? The one with the scratch inside. I pulled up the still I'd taken from the porch zoom and paused on the inside of the cheap metal. TSG, scratched with a needle, earnest and ugly. She compared the shapes like a woman who's measured before. Not the same ring, she said softly. Similar width, different wear. This one's cleaner. Newer, I said. Or handled by someone who doesn't work with their hands. She nodded. Where is Michael this morning? At his sister's, I said. He texted a picture of coffee and an apology. The coffee looked honest. She almost smiled. We'll get formal statements from both later today. One more thing. She took a small paper bag from the bin and slid it out. A slim knit glove, inside out, tagged from evidence. Found this under your hall table last night when we canvassed after you slept. After I caught my surprise and folded it. I didn't hear you. We're quiet when we're boring, she said. She slid a second bag beside it, fibers sealed from the drawer groove. We'll test match. My partner's eye says yes. The partner didn't look up, but I could feel her agreement like a weight settling. Fine hatch, she said, nodding toward the fibers under plastic. Glove was cheap. Sheds when the world pushes back. Rodriguez stood. Now the awkward part. We'll ask you to say on camera what you found and what you didn't do. It matters later. People like recordings. They believe them more than their own memories. I can do that, I said. We filmed in the kitchen, my voice in that low, steady register where truth rents space long term. I showed the whole table, the bag, the drawer, the phone angle. I said, I did not place any ring in this bag, because lawyers like sentences with clear subjects and a verb that knows its job. When we were done, Rodriguez clipped the recorder off and slid it into the bin. Your voice reads as honest, she said. Helps. My face doesn't. I asked. She eyed me, amused. Faces are situational. Voices betray. The doorbell rang before I could make a joke I'd regret. The house tensed. Rodriguez tilted her chin. The partner drifted toward the side of the frame like a chess piece that knows many squares. Michael stood on the porch, hair down for the first time in a week, a grocery sack in his hand like a peace treaty. I brought muffins, he said, apology baked into the shape of his mouth. From the market, not the church. Come in, I said and stepped aside. He clocked the evidence bin, the gloves, the geometry of the hall, a glance a teacher would respect. Am I interrupting? We're just re-walking, Rodriguez said. Good timing. Michael set the bag on the table as if it might break on impact. I didn't sleep, he said. Kept hearing tissue rip in my head. Rodriguez nodded to a chair in the living room. Have a seat, she said, voice soft enough to carry weight without force. I want to re-ask something from your statement yesterday. Friday 4:13. Crystal and stone. What were you thinking? He let the question touch him without flinching. I was thinking if I paid cash on layaway, the ring would stay put until we figured things out. I was thinking the police would see I didn't walk out with anything. I was thinking that if we dressed our story up enough, your belief would arrive in a nice coat. And Saturday night? Rodriguez asked. I tore tissue, he said, eyes on his hands. Not. He paused. I tore myself, he added so quietly I wasn't sure the recorder would catch it. Did you put the ring in the purse? Rodriguez asked. No, he said instantly, then slower. I didn't place it. I touched the bag. I saw Jennifer touch it. I didn't stop her. He swallowed like the word, stop, had a price. I didn't stop her. Silence held the room's hands for a full breath. Rodriguez slid the knit glove bag toward him. Recognize this? He frowned. My winter gloves are in the coat closet, he said. Those aren't mine. They might be mine, I said. I buy cheap multipacks for the truck in November, but those are small. Rodriguez glanced at the partner. She nodded. Later tests would answer what our eyes already suspected. The gloves we've looked like a cheap secret. Michael stared at the bin as if it contained the week. I need to say something, he said, sudden as a cut rope. On your recorder. Rodriguez tapped the unit back on. He spoke into the space it made. When Jennifer and I rehearsed the call, he said, I told her what to say because I was angry at Barbara and wanted the house to scare her into yes. I believed a lie would build a bridge. I was wrong. He stopped, caught breath, kept going. On Friday, I paid $250 cash at Crystal and Stone. I planned to pay more. I texted the print shop woman to fix the letter. I asked her to make it look real. She said she knew how to do the watermark. She dropped the envelope on Barbara's porch. I told her to. Rodriguez's pen didn't move. She'd learned some truths prefer to stand unaccompanied. Thank you, she said. We'll follow with a formal addendum at the station. For now, this helps. The doorbell rang again, quick, 3 times, like a habit. I didn't need the porch cam to tell me who. Jennifer stepped in when I opened. She looked smaller, but loaded with the kind of energy that burns paper and then hands. She clocked the bin, the gloves, Michael sitting too straight, Rodriguez in my chair like a fact. You invited the courtroom, she said. We invited the truth, I said. She laughed without air. Same thing in this house. Rodriguez didn't stand. She didn't need to. Jennifer, she said, we're re-walking. We'd like your steps too. Then we'll ask for voluntary prints and a look at last night's movements. I'm not saying a word, Jennifer said. My rights learned your name. Rodriguez's eyes smiled. They're good students. She gestured toward the hall. Walk us through your night anyway. Words optional. Jennifer stared like the floor might move if she did. Then she moved a few steps, hands twitching toward her pockets and aborting. At the hall table, she stopped. She looked at the bag like it owed her rent. She didn't touch it. Kitchen, Rodriguez said softly. Jennifer stepped in. Her gaze slid to the drawer and away as if the wood were bright. She planted her feet square like a woman bracing in surf. Happy. Not yet, Rodriguez said. The partner cleared her throat. Mind if I swab your jacket cuffs? She asked. Quick touch. Jennifer pulled back. You need a warrant for me. For your cuffs, we need your yes, the partner said. You can also say no. Jennifer said nothing, which is how some people spell no. Rodriguez let it pass like a slow car. We'll ask again later. She turned to me. Ms. Ford, one more thing. In your video, you address the camera, then them. Do you want to add an on-camera statement now to the community? It helps later when the block tells itself a story. I thought of potluck clip art and notice of community concern, taped on my door like a name tag. I thought of Mrs. Chen's cardigan and Mr. Thompson's dog's leash. Yes, I said. I want to say one thing. She lifted the recorder like a question. I faced it like a mirror. I love my daughter, I said. I will not fund lies. I will not hide truth. I will apologize for my part in making her think love and money are synonyms. I'm sorry for that. I'm not sorry for pressing record. The room made a sound I wanted to call quiet pride. Rodriguez clicked the unit off. That plays, she said. People believe apologies that cost something. Jennifer's mouth twisted. You rehearsed that. No, I said. I lived it. She took a quick step toward me and stopped on her own. The way a dog remembers the fence line. She turned on Michael instead, softer. You told her everything. I told her the parts that were killing me, he said. The line didn't tremble. Something broke in her face without shattering. And you'll feel better when I'm gone, she said, bitter like medicine. No, he said. That's the part where we tell the judge the truth. Rodriguez stood then, not into Jennifer, but into the room. She looked at both of them in a way that held past and next like a level holds two bubbles. Here's where we are, she said. We have a ring reported stolen Friday from Crystal and Stone. We have a layaway payment by Michael at 4:13. We have a porch cam clip of Jennifer at your truck and another of a second party, your print shop friend, at the curb. We have tissue halves that match. We have fibers from your drawer and a glove from this hall that likely match. We have text solicitations for routing numbers dressed as onboarding. She let the list settle. No one is under arrest at this house at this minute, she said. That can change today, or you can make choices that change it tomorrow. Jennifer laughed again, but the sound was hollow now, like a shell with the meat gone. What do you want me to do? Confess on your recorder and ask for a coupon. Rodriguez didn't blink. I want you to come with us to the station and make a statement, she said. I want you to bring the ring you had last night in your left hand. I want you to let go of an idea of Monday that keeps stealing your Tuesdays. Jennifer's chin lifted. She looked at me and saw a woman who had run out of bridges. She looked at Michael and saw someone she didn't recognize yet. She stuck her hands in her jacket pockets for courage and hit the left one like muscle memory. The pocket slumped with a shape that knew its own outline. She looked down too fast and looked back up too late. Rodriguez didn't move. Jennifer, she said, and the word had weight without heat. Take your hands out slowly. Jennifer did. Empty palms up. Performative surrender. The shape in the pocket still made its own case. Rodriguez's partner stepped close enough to smell truth. Voluntary, she said gently. Or cuffs. Your choice. Silence stood up and put on its coat. Something like sense crossed Jennifer's face. She slid 2 fingers into the pocket and pulled out a ring. Not Crystal and Stone's cathedral, but a gold band with a small stone, the kind you buy to try hope on. It sat on her palm like a live wire. It's not that one, she said. I was returning it to the pawn to show I could fix it. I finished for her because of the note. Because of every note before it. Rodriguez took a small breath through her nose. Something like relief and something like a clock. We're leaving now, she said. Together. Michael, we'll need you 2 later today. Statements, clarifications. Michael nodded, already standing. Jennifer closed her fist around the small ring and opened it again like maybe it had changed while her hand was dark. It hadn't. Rodriguez turned to me at the door. We'll bring them by for more when we can, she said. Keep your phone on. Keep your porch light on. I started, then stopped. The line I always used felt different now, like a shirt that had learned it belonged to work, not sleep. I will, I said. She headed toward the stoop, then paused and looked back at both of them. Her voice dropped a degree. The badge stepped forward. The human didn't step away. We'll need both of you tonight. They kept them all afternoon. Rodriguez texted once. Statements in progress. Sit tight. And corrected herself a beat later. Sorry. Just wait at home. I waited by doing things with edges. Sweeping, folding, tightening cabinet screws that had started to shrug. I watered Robert's ficus because life makes its own quiet demands. The house breathed with me. The third stair creaked on the hour like a friend clearing its throat. At twilight, the street put on its porch lights like jewelry. I stood at my front window and watched small domestic halos pop on up and down Magnolia Drive. Mrs. Chen, Mr. Thompson, the family with the trampoline. We had all learned each other's lighting patterns over the years. Community is knowing who is late. My doorbell rang at 6:42. Rodriguez on the step, coat unbuttoned, a fatigue that made sense of her posture. Behind her, Michael, eyes swollen but steady. Jennifer, thinner by a tooth or two, jacket zipped to her throat, hands out of her pockets like she'd learned new rules for walking. "May we?" Rodriguez asked. I stepped aside. The house, magnanimous, did not creak when they crossed. "They've both made statements," Rodriguez said in the living room, voice official without sharp edges. Michael confirmed the layaway and the drop. Jennifer admitted the pocket ring and attempting to plant the first one. She glanced at my lamp's honest circle. "We'll move forward with charges. Likely theft, attempted fraud, conspiracy. The DA will make friends with the words later." Michael's breath shivered once. "I told them everything," he said to me, and his voice didn't blink. Jennifer stared at the carpet pattern because it didn't look back. "They read me my parts," she muttered. "I sound like a woman staking her house on Monday." "What happens now?" I asked Rodriguez. "Paper," she said. "Court dates. A request for no contact except through counsel, at least initially. An opportunity for a restitution plan if the jeweler plays ball and the DA doesn't mind sharing the ball." "I mind a little," Jennifer said, small and bitter. "It's a heavy ball." "It's cheaper than prison," Rodriguez said softly. "And lighter than running." Silence made room for itself. I could feel the porch light behind me through the window, a warmth on the back of my neck. It had always wanted to make me useful. Michael swallowed. "There's a community meeting tonight," he said. "The HOA. They asked to clear the air. I told them you'd come." "They asked me too," I said. "They taped the air to my door." "Remember?" "I remember," he said. "Come anyway. Let's put the air back where it belongs." I looked at Rodriguez. She lifted a palm. "Your call." "We'll stop by," she added. "Public helps truth put its shoes on." We walked. Me, Michael, and a careful distance. Jennifer beside Rodriguez like a shadow being escorted to relearn shape. The green was half full. Voices already practicing civility at volume. Clip art balloons on the sign from 2 nights ago sagged as if they'd learned something tough. The HOA president took the mic with the grace of a flight attendant facing turbulence mid-sky. "Neighbors," she said brightly. "We value transparency." Her eyes found me, then the police, then chose the middle. "We've had events." Mr. Thompson raised his hand like he'd invented questions. "Are we safe?" Rodriguez stepped to the front of the makeshift circle without taking the mic. "Yes," she said, and somehow made it both true and conditional. "We're addressing a theft connected to a local business. We've identified parties. We'll present to the DA. You'll see less blue. We appreciate your eyes." Mrs. Chen lifted a plastic fork like a baton. "And our patience," she added, smiling at me quick as apology. A few folks laughed because relief prefers humor to paperwork. The president looked as if she'd been about to say something else to fill the space. Then she handed me the mic like it was a casserole. "Barbara." The plastic was warm from neighbor hands. I stood where everyone could see my face and none of them could see my insides. "I love my daughter," I said. The sentence handled the first gasps on its own. "I have told the truth to the police and to my house and to the drawer where a lie tried to nap. I won't talk about filings. I will talk about boundaries." The night tuned itself to listen. "For 3 years," I said, "I confused love with rescue. I poured $1,200 into months that ate it and asked for more. I said yes to bridges that weren't roads. I said yes to $2,000 like a bandage, and yes to $3,000 in my head before I'd read the bill, and yes to the idea that money could parent where I was tired." The murmurs made a friendly wind. I held the mic tighter so my hands had something to do besides shake. "I told myself after Robert died that there was $47,000 of storm money and that storms come with thunder you can hear," I said. It turns out some storms wear perfume and call you Mom. A few neighbors laughed, then stopped themselves, not sure where permission ended. I let them have it. I'm sorry, I said, and the words warmed my tongue. To the block for the lights, and to myself for the lies, and to my daughter for the years I taught her a trick I didn't mean, that she could lift my wallet and call it love. The air stayed still around us like it had found the right temperature. Jennifer stood 10 feet away, not moving, listening like a woman outside a door she used to own a key to. She looked too young and exactly her age all at once. I was grateful for the distance and the presence at the same time. I will be here, I said into Magnolia Drive's short sky. I'll keep a chair at Sunday dinner for the truth. I'll drive someone I love to a job center. I will not pay for rehearsals of a life. I will pay for repairs to a store we hurt. I'll show up in court with my spine and my name. Somewhere behind Mrs. Chen, someone sniffed the way people do when they discover other people have a backbone, and it didn't require permission. Rodriguez didn't take the mic. She didn't need to. She just said, "Meeting adjourned unless anyone wants to apologize to a neighbor for whispering." It's a good night for it. Laughter relieved us and leaked out like air from a balloon in a healthier way. I handed the mic back to the president, who suddenly looked like a person you could forgive for clip art. Mrs. Chan hugged me with both arms and a Tupperware I hadn't given back yet. "Casserole again," she whispered. "Bribery for endurance." "Accepted," I said. Michael touched my sleeve like a question. "Thank you," he whispered, "for saying the words in front of people and not at them." "Truth needed an audience," I said. "It's been rehearsing in my kitchen." He nodded once, a small, clean motion. "I'm going to my sister's," he said. "I'll text you the court date. And I'll keep telling the truth even when it eats the future I imagined." "You said that already." "I'm saying it until it belongs to me," he said, and walked toward his car, shoulders squared against wind that might never arrive. Jennifer stayed. Rodriguez stayed with her, just at her shoulder, neither pinning nor permitting. We faced each other with enough space for history. She cleared her throat. "They'll let me walk tonight," she said, like a girl hoping a detention bell would ring. "Arraignment Tuesday." "Okay," I said. "I told them I'd try to make it right," she said. "Restitution, meetings, a job that isn't a text message." "Okay," I said again, because sometimes the only safe word is the quiet one. She looked at the lit windows on our street like she was counting exits. "I can't come here," she said. "Not yet," I said. "Maybe not for a long while. You can send a letter. You can send proof. You can send a picture of a pay stub, not a promise." She swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing like a float. "What about Sunday?" She sounded like she was naming a planet she'd seen through glass. "Chairs open," I said. "For the truth." She nodded more than once, like trying to make her neck believe her ears. Rodriguez touched her elbow in a way that was neither friend nor guard, but both. "We're done for tonight," she said. "Ms. Ford, we'll call tomorrow." "You did good." "I did necessary," I said. "Those are cousins," she said, and steered Jennifer toward the cruiser without handcuffs. People watched and didn't pretend not to. The blue lights didn't flash. The car pulled away quieter than my heart. Back home, the house accepted me without requiring paperwork. The honest lamp laid its circle. I put Mrs. Chen's Tupperware in the fridge, rinsed my cup, turned the deadbolt. Muscle memory learning a moral. On the hall table, the purse sat where the week had assigned it. I moved it into the closet like relocating a witness to somewhere with fewer stairs. On the kitchen counter, I laid out the things I could control. The still from Crystal and Stone, the carbon copy of $250 cash. The screenshot of the text begging for routing numbers. The photo with "Stop or we make you." Jennifer's block letter, "I'll fix it. Don't call," under clear plastic. Paper army. Evidence and afterlife. I took out a clean sheet and wrote a list with numbers that weren't lies. 1. Call jeweler. Arrange restitution conversation. Ask about payment plan through court. 2. Sunday dinner. Keep it simple. Seat available. Rules on the fridge. 3. Bank. Confirm disputes. Rename accounts I forgot to lock. No stays no. 4. Church. Thank Marcus. Offer chairs for another circle if they need them. 5. Hoa. Email board. Stop taping the air to my door. Come ring the bell like people. The house liked the list. It hummed approval at a pitch only ridiculous women hear. The phone blinked with one more message before bed from Rodriguez. Quick update. DA is leaning on diversion plus restitution if cooperation holds. No promises. Get sleep. Diversion and restitution. Detours that don't end on cliffs. I turned off the lamp and walked to the porch. The night was cool enough that breath made a small ghost. I flicked the switch and the porch light came on, throwing a soft semicircle across the steps. It picked out the grain in the wood, the chip in the paint I'd been ignoring, the spot where the first envelope had slid home. Neighbors say porch lights are a welcome. Sometimes they're a boundary you can see from the street. I stood there a long time and did something I hadn't done in months. I spoke into the dark as if Robert were listening from the kitchen, a sheet tucked over his shoulder, smiling at how foolish and human I still was. I kept the light on, I said. I locked the wallet. I told the truth. The street didn't answer. The light did. It held. And so did I. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.